Welcome to Playbook for Success, the ultimate podcast for professionals in the world of children's activities, play, childcare, sports, leisure, and beyond. Hosted by industry veteran Mark Rasche and digital marketing expert Mike Roberts, this podcast is your go-to resource for invaluable insights, strategies, and stories from inspiring leaders in these dynamic sectors. Join us as we sit down with experts, entrepreneurs, and innovators to uncover the secrets to success, navigate through failures, and glean essential learnings from their journeys. Whether you're seeking to get to the next level, build a thriving business, achieve your ambitions, or strike the perfect balance between work and life, among many other things, Playbook for Success is your roadmap to excellence.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Playbook for Success podcast episode where we explore the strategies that transform goals into achievements. So as you know, I'm the co-host Mike. We've got the main host here, Mark. Hello, Mark.
Hi, Mike. Hi, everyone.
And we've got some amazing guests today. But before we do, I'll just do a very quick introduction. So in today's session, we are stepping into the world of exits, acquisitions. Many entrepreneurs, dream of the day that they might sell their venture, although some don't, which is what we're going to look at today. But what does that journey really look like? So we are joined today by the founders of, is it Get Active? Is that right? Cool. I've got Shaun, Ryan, and Rob. So over to you guys. Let's hear from you. We'd love you to introduce yourselves, the business, and then we're going to get into some good questions.
Okay, so I'm Rob, one of the three. We started Get Active Sports in, blimey, testing my memory. 2012, yeah. So before we started Get Active, the three of us had our own individual businesses, which I'm sure Shaun and Ryan will talk about. We had our own businesses in the same field, in the sports coaching and childcare field. And mine had been going for about 4 years. And I've just got to the stage where I started expanding, and I started to expand on Shaun and Ryan's territory, so to speak. We kept popping up and meeting each other at conferences and networking events, and we spoke about the work we were doing, and we both, well, all of us said exactly the same story, that we're doing exactly the same thing, exactly the same challenges. So we were like, well, why are we competing against each other? Why don't we put it all together? So we joined forces in 2012. That's when Get Active was first officially formed. Like a lot of people in the sector, we formed it because we thought we were good at what we're doing with regards to coaching, with regards to childcare. And we didn't form it to sell it. We didn't form it to do anything else apart from try and coach or teach or look after as many children as we possibly can. I'm sure Ryan and Shaun can talk about their individual businesses.
Yeah, I a little bit different journey from Rob. I'd been in America for about 4 or 5 years. Came back, started coaching, a small coaching business, and it got to a bit of the same point really as Rob. I'd got to the point where it was started growing. I couldn't really manage it on my own anymore. It had grown to the point where I wasn't really sure what I was doing. And I met Shaun one day, and we decided to put our businesses together. And then we moved over with Rob after that as well. So,
yeah. It's very similar to Rob's, to be fair. Went to university, come out, was doing coaching, couldn't get a job. So basically decided to set up my own business. Back then my first business was called Sports Idol. So it was a bit of a process of having idols around sports, around your coaching and the delivery methods. And then, met these two and never looked back.
But the strange thing was we actually didn't know each other on a personal level or a business level at all until just random conversations.
That's probably a good thing because we wouldn't be sat here if we did.
Can I ask a question around that then? Because obviously it's not the normal thing where you kind of, in normal business, say, accountants, solicitors, those sort of things. I don't know if it's normal where they would keep kind of coming into competition with a rival and then speak to them and say, do you want to join forces? How did those initial conversations go? Who brought it up and how did it actually come together?
So we've probably try and do it in like a timeline order. So as Rob mentioned before, he was coming onto my patch. I didn't like it really, to be fair. And then got invited to like this business networking, but it was really weird because it was like a speed dating method. So we had to sit down on. So we had some people on the inside of the table, on the outside of the table. People on the outside stayed still, and I could see Rob getting closer and closer to me as I was going down. I was like, "What am I going to say to this guy?" And then we both sat and said, "Yep, know what you do, know what I do." Just started talking. He was a nice guy. Hopefully, he felt the same about me. And then cracked on. Then there was a coach that worked for myself and did a bit of work for Rob in the holidays. So I got out of the car. Said, "I just met Rob. What is he like?" He vouched for him. I then got his number. I think Rob probably just stepped out of the meeting and then got a phone call from me to say, "Let's have a meet up and take it from there. See if you would be interested in collaborating together."
I think the other thing is, even though Ryan mentioned that we didn't know each other on a personal level before this, I think we quickly worked out that we worked well together, but also we've got different personalities, very different personalities, and also we've got very different approaches to business and what we do in the background. Like Ryan's a qualified teacher, Shaun's extremely good at training and qualifications, and I'm not particularly good at those two things, particularly teaching and coaching. But from a business point of view, not that I've got more business acumen than that isn't true, but I just see things differently and I look at numbers more and look at finances more. So the three of us actually gelled quite well together on it.
Yeah, really well. How Shaun and I kind of met. So Shaun was the link between the two of us, I guess. I had a sports coaching club at one of the schools I worked at, and had a really good relationship with the head teacher. We had holiday camps running there, and it was a little bit of an unwritten rule that no one else's literature would come into the school. And one day I saw this guy's flyer in the school. I think it said Sports Idol or something. I thought, what's this rubbish? Went to the head teacher, said, "Oh, do you mind just not putting it out?" She was like, "Yeah," we had a joke about it. And I'm notoriously messy. So my car's always like just a dumping ground. So I'd put this flyer in my car, and about 6 months later, I was just having one of those days, pulling my hair out. I think I had a team of about 5 staff, and I was like, someone's not turned up. What am I going to do? And I looked down, I saw this flyer, and I was like, I'm going to call this guy. So I just called him, hadn't ever met him at all. And we decided to meet up at this little restaurant-y bar place. And we both walked in exactly the same model of Nike uniform, but the our branding logo was a little bit different. And that was it. And we just got on really well. So we kind of moved things forward from there. And then it linked with Rob as well. So it's good.
But it's a great example of what happens. What's really good about this sector, I think, that there is a lot of collaboration. You don't have to fight your competition, even if you're not going to partner with them or go into business with them. There's loads of collaboration you can do. And the kind of the next question is, it's not easy working with other people on the same level. So how have you made it work for 12 years or more together?
I think that kind of goes back to us having different strengths and different weaknesses, that we could help each other in certain things. We can help each other at that time. We can help each other's businesses to merge into one bigger business. So I think it's just the fact that we knew we had different strengths. We knew we had different weaknesses. And as a group, the three of us all knew that we wanted to make this bigger and better. At no stage did we meet and say, right, let's build it bigger and better and sell it in 5 to 10 years. We just met and said, let's make this as big as we possibly can. We knew there was loads of opportunities out there as well. So we all had the same goal, the same goal as some people may say, to coach as many children or support as many children. Mine, to be honest, was trying to make as much money as we could by supplying a good service to these children and to the schools. So I guess that's how it worked, that we could all offer different things for them.
Mm-hmm. I think, our morals and values are probably quite aligned as well. What we try, just general everyday life, trying to do the right thing. So
also think, Mark, it was the breakdown. Like Rob's holiday camps were huge at the time. Ryan's after school clubs were huge, and my PPA was huge. So combining all three of them, it just the untapped area of Rob's side of the PPA and clubs, etc. We were able to do that quite quickly with the intros to the schools and the services that we're providing, and also, even more importantly, the staff, giving the staff a career pathway to start with the after school clubs, then go into your PPA, then go into management, basically. And then we progress on to like the wraparound care later on. Pretty much stumbled on that, to be fair, because we were trying to do a different product and we changed it completely.
Yeah, and you've kind of briefly mentioned that you scaled it and built, a pretty decent sized business. Do you just want to kind of elaborate a bit more on that in terms of all the different stuff you did and what sort of scale you got on in your local area? And
Yeah, at our peak, I think we had about 120 to 140 schools at any one time. That was probably the most we ever got to. The initial scaling up was, it sounds ridiculous and it sounds like such an archaic way of doing it, but three of us were just picking up the phone, speaking to the schools, just ringing up, asking them, do you need this, do you need that, and then going in to do a free session. That was as simple as it got to start with. Eventually we moved away from that, and we got people in for marketing and people to do sales. But the more aggressive growth, I guess, came when we started, as Shaun mentioned, promoting staff members, and they became, at first, we had area coordinators, so they looked after a group of schools that were theirs. And then we went down the franchising route, a couple of very successful franchises, and I suspect in most fields, a couple of unsuccessful franchises. We learned quite a lot from doing that franchising route, and we learned what could make it work. I think our biggest franchise probably got up to about 40 to 50 schools. And then we scaled back on all the franchising and just kept everything in-house, all within an hour to 2 hours of head office, which is in Berkshire Way.
There was a point where we actually, at the beginning, I guess we were just doing what we knew. And then we started, as we added more staff members and management, we were able to kind of think a little bit more strategically. And we made we sort of stumbled upon it, but it was a bit of maybe an unconscious decision that turned into a conscious one around wraparound services. So there was a lot of schools we were working with that we were just offering a 1 hour after school club with, and we were looking at how we could get the staff more work. Recruiting a staff member for 1 hour was tricky. So we kind of looked at the 3 hour model of wraparound services, where it's like an snack and dinner and activities. We went down that model quite early before a lot of other sports coaching companies offered that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But it was a decision to kind of diversify what we were doing. If you're familiar with like sports coaching and sports in schools, there's a premium, sports premium that's sort of given by the government. So that's always under threat. So we were looking at other ways to protect our business and grow, I guess.
Even then COVID hit, didn't it? So quickly adapt to that. And then the delivery side was always paramount to us, of what we can deliver, how we deliver it, and then who we're delivering it to. Because we did scale back and was working with what we have. So the holiday camps, it was predominantly boys, boy heavy, really, and then we added in not saying this is just for boys and girls, but we added in arts and crafts, dress ups,
drama workshops,
just so we've got the products there, we've got the same venue, we've got the same staff, but we needed to add more people and then add a better service, basically.
Yeah, one of the things, I guess, just thing in life, if people trust you and you're providing something good, how we looked at it was, if we're providing something good and people trust us, how can we build on those relationships? We did that quite well with the schools. So, if we were offering a lunch club to a school, and we were doing a good job with it, we would ask them about the other provisions that they were running, and just build it up like that, really. And the same with the holiday camps. If you've got, we would have people literally walk up to a holiday camp with registering a boy into the club, and the two daughters were kind of going somewhere else, and they were like, "Oh, it'd be great if you can offer a wider variety of activities to sort of engage girls as well." So, we looked at that and got the trust of parents and customers and built from there, really.
quite a lot of an education piece because with you guys, I remember the first time I ran a holiday camp, you expect parents to know what to bring. And I had a child that came in, bless him, with basically in a suit and shoes to come and do a sports camp.
You'd been looking at Rob.
So it was like, all right, what else do I need to put onto that flyer to make it more appealable? But also these instructions of bring in your own packed lunch, bring in some snacks, bring in your water bottle. So it was a massive education piece that we had to do on that, which then tailored into the marketing that we pushed out. And then we had applied that to pretty much all of our services. So your after school, your birthday parties was another big one.
Yeah.
And moving across the whole business.
Yeah, and so obviously I know you guys fairly well since working with you since nearly the start. But the question that other people will ask is, you had a pretty decent business at that stage. So, and we're talking about exiting and so on and so forth. Why did you sell? How did it come about? Do you want to just kind of explain how it came about? And
so we kind of got to the stage where not it became uncontrollable, because it certainly wasn't. We knew what we were doing and where people were. But as Ryan mentioned with sickness, when he had 4 or 5 staff, when you've got nearly 100 staff and 2 or 3 people are sick every single day without fail, it does start to grate on you. That was one reason. Another reason was actually the funding that came in for wraparound care. So I was part of a commission board that worked directly with the government, and they used to tell us about things that were going to be happening. And one of them was wraparound care was going to get funded, which I think people see it as 2 ways. One thing that's surely a really good thing for GACT if there's going to be additional funding in the company, but equally there's going to be hundreds of childcare companies pop up to do wraparound care, which is kind of what's happened. There's loads of them just within 10 miles of where we are now. So we saw the opportunity to sell. We knew we didn't want to be doing this forever because, excuse the strange acronym, it's always a young person's game, childcare and sports coaching. And we didn't want to be massively involved in it. But equally, we had another company, which was called Old Prof at the time, which, as everybody knows, a story group, which we just started, which we can talk about later. So everything kind of aligned to give us the option to sell.
It was from COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think when COVID happened, we had a few people just write to us. We'd kind of been toying with the idea and thinking about it, but there must have been like a campaign where we would just send out blanket loads of letters. Businesses were unsure what's going on. We had quite a few people writing to us asking to buy us. We weren't really sure, but we just started investigating it from there, really, didn't we? And exploring those options.
But the fact that we had another business on the side, which was starting to be really, really successful, that we knew we could exit it, and we could exit, to be honest, for a decent price, because of what we'd built up and the contacts we had, and the trust we built up with the local community.
Hey listeners, it's Mike here from Making Digital Real. I'm just going to interrupt the show just for 1 minute to talk about something I'm really passionate about, helping my clients make their podcast dreams come true. As the sponsor and editor of the Playbook for Success podcast, I'm really excited to introduce you to my podcast editing and mentoring service, Making Digital Real. If you want to come and take a look, just head over to vault.makingdigitalreal.co.uk and let's have a chat about how we can get your podcast up and running. Okay, back to the show.
And that sort of goes back again to a bit what Rob was saying about our different skill sets, and again around what we're saying around like diversifying our products and our services. I think when was it about 2017 we started looking. I think it was about 2017 we started looking at what other businesses we could build up alongside Get Active, and the reason was because we'd have, it's quite tough there were some tough times where we'd put money into investing staff, and some of those staff on our model was always a staff member could earn X amount of money from their time at a school. So when you're investing in staff that aren't necessarily generating you income that's really easy to see or is tangible, you kind of go through a bit of a barrier. Yeah, we'd sort of made a decision to diversify again what we were doing. And we'd had like a really good management set up. Rob was leading on Get Active, and that allowed, we had like the agreement between Rob, Shaun and myself to go away and build these other businesses. One was an apprenticeship providing company and a BTEC program, and the other one was the alternative provision, which Rob said about. And then they kind of started growing to the point where it, we had to make decisions around whether we were going to exit Get Active.
Yeah. And do you want to talk about the process of that? Because, for people that haven't sold a business or haven't tried to exit, whatever, they might have no idea what it's like, timescales, challenges, all those sort of things. Because, like you said, the initial kind of seed was sown by people approaching you. But do you want to talk through the process of? You don't have to name any names or anything like that, but just kind of talk about.
Well, obviously, we had a brilliant business mentor in someone called Mark Rasche. He was really good. He helped us. But no, like the initial, I think Ryan, I'm trying to remember now, but I think Ryan's spot on where we got a letter through the post about trying to buy our business, which, to be honest, on the real cheap. And we discussed about selling the business, and we always kind of knew that there was the option, but we just didn't know how or why or any of those things. So I think the initial conversation was then we went to go and speak to our accountant, who we've been with for years since we had the start of the business, and just really asked them the question was, how much do you think we can get? Which I know it's always a hard answer because it's only how much someone wants to pay, but realistically putting numbers on a paper and saying that you should be able to get this or you should be able to do that opened their eyes a little bit more as to what we could get. We actually got very close with a deal with a rival to purchase us. I don't really know what happened with that, to be honest.
But it was a long process because of
real long
COVID,
process.
wasn't it?
Yeah, real long process. But because we were talking numbers with them, that really opened our eyes to see, actually, we can definitely get this. And we knew in the back of our minds that they were possibly lowballing us to start with. But even the lowballing offer opened our eyes to the opportunities that we could do something really good with this. We massively strengthened our management team as soon as that happened, because we knew whoever wanted to purchase us would need a strong management team so they could just take it over themselves. So we changed our management team quite a lot to get it in place. And then we actually approached some, I don't know what they're called, business agents. I think they're called, people that physically sell your business for you, and that's the only thing they do. So we approached 3 or 4 of them to have a conversation about what they thought we could get, how long it would take to get it. A couple of them felt like estate agents and they're just telling us what we wanted to hear and giving us a ridiculous valuation. But one of them came back with a very good valuation. He came back with a good plan of how it would work. He was clear, concise, told us exactly what we needed to do. Didn't give us any rubbish saying, we could sell it for you in 6 weeks. It was like, this is probably going to take you 18 months to 2 years. And then we went with them, and they didn't sell it for us, but they kind of put it on the market for us. Attracted the people, the investors, or the whoever was going to buy it. And we had probably 4 or 5 conversations with various people before we agreed with anybody. Mm-hmm. So it did take a while.
Once that was agreed, actually, once we started agreeing, it still probably took another 6 months to a year, I reckon. And that, that was quite an eye opener as well, because we had someone taking us through that process that was part of the buyer's sort of package, and we had lots and lots of meetings, loads of Zoom meetings with the buyer, his mentor, our sales agents, our accountant, and kind of navigated through. That was probably one of the best things having him there, because he kind of took you through that process. Opposed to any tricky conversations, he mediated well. And,
That's what I was going to say. Was there any surprises in the final stages of the sale that any of these listeners should be careful to look out for, or anything like that?
I don't think we went through any.
The only surprises for me was people that were trying to purchase us. We didn't fully understand it because we hadn't sold a business before, but equally 2 of the people that we were speaking to hadn't brought a business before. So some of the things they were offering or suggesting, we were like, that really doesn't seem correct. So we went to go and speak to the people that knew about it, and they were like, no, it isn't quite correct. They've kind of got things a little bit twisted. Not that they meant to do it on purpose, but that was the only thing that Ryan mentioned about having someone mediate it. I don't think we would have sold if we didn't, because not that we ever got to an argument, but you know, when you can feel through emails or through things that something's going to go slightly wrong, we got to that stage with the person that actually brought us that we were like, well, we're quite close to cancelling this deal. And then we spoke to the advisor and they're like, oh no, let me speak to him. And then they explained how it all works. So without that, I don't think we would have sold as quickly as we did or as efficiently as we did, to be honest. So having someone mediate it that knows, and the only thing they do is buy and sell businesses, was essential for us.
Yeah.
And then, sorry.
So we were really, really close, like Rob said earlier, really close to selling it about a year before that, maybe 18 months even. And we'd gone through a process again for about 6 to 12 months with this company. And that actually fell down probably about 2 months before we went to complete on it.
Yeah.
And no one mediated that. It was, them and us direct. There were a lot of tricky conversations. There were issues that probably could have been pretty easily resolved. But
very quickly.
But yeah, it just broke down really. So
I think having that process and the understanding. So someone, if you didn't, like we asked questions. So if we didn't understand something, we did ask that question of like, what do you mean by this? And then break it down, because when you're dealing with solicitors, they talk a whole different language, and trying to dissect and go through what they're trying to explain to you, and does that work? No, I'm not happy with this. So again, just picking up on that mediator turned into a translator sometimes, where he's sold in, I don't know how many business he's sold, but probably in the triple figures. But yeah, just knowing and having that understanding of this is what they mean, this is what it's going to get, this is how it's broken down, and then this would be the outcome. Again, without that, we wouldn't have got anywhere near. And making sure you have a good solicitor that you understand and trust, that knows your business. Sometimes the cheap ones are probably not the best ones, but someone that's around that industry would be brilliant. That's what I'd say. Again, made it a bit more smoother when two solicitors are talking to each other. They understand and was able to take it to the next step.
It's interesting you talk about that kind of timescales, because I think when I speak to people that are thinking of selling their business or they want some advice, I often say, look, it needs to be like a 3 to 5 year plan. It needs to be properly planned for years in advance, like you said, putting the management team in place and all that, increasing the value and all the stuff that's going to make it a more saleable asset. Because so many people who want to sell their business, it's like a last minute thing. I need to sell my business, or want to sell my business. It needs to go by this date. So the timescales it takes and the complexity of it, I think people vastly underestimate. And like you said, if it's blind leading the blind, the other person doesn't really know how.
I think we're in the fortunate position that we didn't need to sell. There was no, there was no rush on our behalf. There was no, a lot of people sell because they have to, because they get into trouble or something like that. But we didn't have to sell. We were in the position where we wanted to, but it wasn't essential.
I think that's a really key thing for value as well, because I talk about online negotiation training where you've got to have a walk away position. You've got to be able to walk away at a decent level. Otherwise, and sometimes it's harder dealing with someone who buys businesses all the time because they know how to nail people to the floor. So you've got to be that's why I feel like it's a 3 to 5 year plan, because you've got to be in a really strong position to sell and be able to walk away, because you don't have to. Have you got any other advice to anyone who's maybe thinking around selling at some point in the future? Or
I guess it depends how big or how small their business is. My only thing would be know how much you want to sell for. It sounds a stupid thing, but don't go in the idea to say I want to sell the business just because I want to sell the business. Like, know what you want to get out of it. Otherwise, you're going into negotiations and discussions completely blind. We knew exactly what we wanted to sell for probably about 3 years before we sold. We said, this is the very minimum we are going to take, and that's it. But I guess it massively depends how big the business is. The fact that we also, because a lot of my mates kind of asked me, why did you sell? One of the key things was that we had Story Group in the background going, that we had something else to do once we did sell. There was a clear plan, a clear process, and everybody, there's 7 directors in Story Group. The other 4 people knew when we were going to sell. So that planning massively helped. I guess if you're selling for 100 million, you don't really need to do another business again. That's what I mean. Like if you're not selling for huge, vast sums of money that you can retire, then you need to have a very, very clear plan that you stick to and be massively organised, because the buyer's going to want to know absolutely everything about your business.
Yeah, don't try and hide anything.
Yeah.
Don't try and just don't try and hide anything in that process. Be really transparent with who's buying it, because it will come sort of
biting bum.
Unstuck somewhere.
And options as well. We do, because mostly people would think when you sell, you just got to get rid of the whole business. But when we were speaking to other people, there were so many different options of keeping a percentage of the business and selling part of the business. So find out what option fits you as a person, or if you're a group of people, and then explore those options with the buyers, because there was quite a few more options that we didn't even realise someone would even present to us. But definitely seeing those options.
Yeah, no, that's really brilliant advice along there. Just getting back to something you said, so it was probably a bit of advice as well, but I remember having chats with you at the time in terms of the money you might be getting and what you're going to do afterwards, and kind of what Rob's kind of described as, I described as fuck off money. If someone's going to offer you fuck off money, which means you can just fuck off and not work again, that's fine. But if it's not going to be that, you have to have something else to go to. So do you want to talk a bit more about, why you felt you could move into the training side, the apprenticeships, how you can help other people in the kind of sectors that you work in, and why that's so great, and how it enabled you to step to that sell, so you could focus on those?
I think it's the whole process of starting a business from nothing, going all the way through the heartaches, the pains, the glories, and then selling gives us that extra clout, if you get what I mean. Someone that's been there, done that, wore the t-shirt. How can we help other businesses? How we use apprenticeships for us in our own business to build the workforce, to upskill our workforce, how to progress. Which again, when I'm speaking to employers currently in this industry, and also employers outside of the industry, they always ask me, "How did you do it? Why did you do it?" Out there you've got 95% to 100% funded training to progress people in those right places. Always had that chocolate feel of, well, not the chocolate, but the box of goodies, really. So you, as a company, I can come to you and say, this box here is for your customer service. We deliver that. This box here is for your management. Here you go. We've got a training part for that, and then you build your team, progress it that way.
Well, I think we said it earlier. Like, I don't know if this is Rob and Shaun's skill set. Really, it's not really mine. Around like networking and using our networks of people, and all the businesses kind of linked in one way or another. So we had our sports coaching company. We had a really good network of schools that we worked with, local authorities, and people in that industry, staff wise, and then. So the training arm that was apprenticeships fed into that network, because we were able to work with schools and deliver training for them and other sports coaching companies that we had met. So that kind of was a good use of that network. The alternative provision, again, we had a massive network of schools in this area. So we decided to sort of utilise that really, and provide a different service, completely different service to what we're offering, but going back to that thing I said earlier about the trust, we're working with people that trust us, but offering a different service. And then that sort of opened up more doors within local authorities locally. And off the back of that, we started a supported accommodation and children's home business. But again, it works with a very similar network, but slightly different service and product. So I think utilising your network that you've got, I'm not sure people always do that the best. There's a lot about going out grabbing new shiny business and new customers, when repeat business or repeat customers or current your current network could be utilised a lot better, really.
No, it's a really interesting story, which is why I wanted to kind of you guys to cover it. You know, internally you might not think it's as interesting because you don't always think your own life's as interesting as people's might be, or someone that's famous or on the telly or something like that. But I think it's a really good story because a lot of people don't ever start a business thinking they're going to sell it, or if they've not sold a business before, don't think it's a saleable asset. And I think the fact that you had something else to go on to is great because it must have been kind of a double-edged sword because part of you is probably thinking, I need to free up some time to focus on these new businesses that we've started, but equally you don't want to just walk away from a really good business without getting the right amount of money.
Yeah, it was tricky, but that's why we made sure we had a really strong management team at Get Active, which is still there today. So we knew that they could run it with us not being there all day, every day. And they ran it really, really well, to be fair. So then we could start looking at other options. But it was a tough one to move away from. Like for me and Shaun, because we're a lot younger than Ryan, it was the only thing we've done. Like coming out of university, that's the only thing I did was sports coaching, and setting up my own business within like 6 months of leaving university is the only thing I'd done. So it did feel strange to like just one day just stop doing it.
Yeah, that was kind of going to my next question because it's, you know, when you build your own business and you spend, you know, 10, 12 years or more, it's got to feel like your own baby. And then, you know, because you guys were sharing an office at one stage as well. So how does it feel kind of, you know, someone else running your business?
It felt strange. Sometimes it depends which side of the bed you've got to wake up on. Sometimes I felt, oh, really good. I don't have the stress in it. I don't worry about it. But sometimes I feel like I quite missed the camaraderie that we had with the staff. Quite missed speaking to some of the schools, not all the schools. So yeah, it varied from day to day really. But I think one of the questions you asked earlier, Mark, as well about advice on selling the business was find out about the person that's buying you or the people that are buying you as well, because we were really comfortable with the person that brought us. You know, when we spoke to the staff, we didn't feel at any stage we were pulling wool over their eyes saying that the person that's buying us is going to look after you and is going to treat you with respect and is going to keep you in your positions and is going to keep everything the same or improve things. We, at no stage didn't we feel comfortable saying that because we knew exactly that our buyer would do that. He promised us that that nothing would change and the people would be able to progress in their workload, which is what's happened, to be fair.
Yeah, we some of the staff journeys that we had actually, from apprentice through to like operations managers, and I think Ash's now the managing director, and he probably started us on a like get back to work.
Yeah,
scheme.
Future Jobs Fund scheme. He was, yeah,
sort of gone from, you know, part-time coach through to like running the company. So and yeah, what, you know, one of the girls in there started as a 16-year-old apprentice, did a sports coaching apprenticeship, went on to be a coach, went on to be a middle manager, went abroad for a year, come back, and is now like you know, helping run the company. So you know, we had personal relationship, we had working relationships with them, but you know, personal relationships as well. So wanted to make sure they were looked after. Just thinking about, like, my daughter was probably born really similar times when we put the businesses together. Yeah. So like all she's sort of known is, oh, Dad, she's been to the camps. I used to dump her off at the camps every now and again, little perk of the business. But yeah, so when I told her I was no longer, you know, running that, she was like, "What do you mean? What?" Huh? So it was quite interesting as well, actually.
Even I know friends, friends, they're like, "You'll get active." Yeah. Like, what's happened? Like, what's going on?
Got a couple of mates going, "Oh, can I have a discount code?" I was like, "Nah, it's too late now, mate." So yeah,
but yeah, it's just like, again, like growing. We've seen some of these staff members start of a work experience, that young person to then start their families, buying their first car. You're there for quite a few milestones. So walking away was saying goodbye to them. We did take them all out, to be fair. Was quite hard. We don't show emotions too much, to be fair. We just hold it in, said goodbye, and then working in the office. So you said bye to them, and then you see them on the Monday sort of like, I can't talk to them. You've got your back to them. So that was a bit strange. Hence why we had to get a new office, because probably like living with your ex-girlfriend type of thing. You've got your good times and your bad times. But a lot of good times with those guys in that team. And you guys are out of them on the weekend, don't you, for some of them?
Tomorrow, meeting up with them.
Yeah. So they've still got the relationships with them, which is good. And I think all three of us have been really good at building relationships and being there for people. And that's probably why we got into what we're into now, where we're helping people a lot more and changing people's lives.
Yeah, no, I think again, come back to that emotional thing of stepping away. I think having something else that you kind of go straight into probably helped deal with that challenge, because you're moving straight on and you're not looking back too much. And I think you're absolutely right about kind of, I think it really, obviously I know who bought the business, and I think it helps to have, similar or shared values, so that you know that people are going to be looked after and those sort of things. Just want to cover off, because it was interesting you guys talking about kind of Ash's journey from young kind of apprentice coach all the way through to managing director, and other people you've taken on board. Just want to kind of quickly go over that again for anyone who's in the sectors that you guys work in, and cover off those, kind of how this funded training helps them.
Yeah. We actually put, again, it's one of those things when you're running a business, you kind of got to look after the costs and make sure the books balance, and try to sometimes look a little bit further for the future and thinking about what the benefits of putting things in place will have. So we did that at one point, and we actually started like an apprenticeship program. So we'd take on 3 to 6 apprentices every year. And this industry is, well, all industries at the moment around sort of childcare, teaching, really hard for recruitment. So we looked at a bit like bigger picture, that we might have to suck up, 5 staff on 12 grand a year that aren't really contributing to us for 6 months. We looked at it like that, but longer term, the sort of return on that investment, I guess, is return on investment of putting some value into developing like a apprenticeship program. We had that consistent flow of people coming into our business. And it was really good to be able to get the values and the ethos of the business into them that way as well. So we put like a bit of thought into that and put the apprenticeship program into place for our business, so it benefited us longer term. And it wasn't just within the coaches, was it? Because then we did
everything else.
It's
like grow your own as such. So like Ryan said about the ethoses and stuff, you could really hammer home of what we are as Get Active, why we're doing it, and then have your set qualifications within that program as well that they're achieving. But when you've, again, like someone like Ash and Shannon, they would run through brick walls for us because they understand what we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve as a business, and what the outcomes are. And they knew once they got to a certain level, then there's another progression, and they could go and do some more qualifications and some more training around that. But it's it was a good piece as well for recruitment for us. So we got to see some people in, and some people didn't make it up to management, but they made it into some very good coaches and very good, again, relationship building, networking within those school sectors. And we had a constant flow. And that turned into the academy as well. So we had the academy where we try to give people experience, work experience, then they could go and move into the apprenticeship. So we quickly had a progression, a career progression for people coming in with no experience, no education. And then we were able to do that within our business for them now to flourish and work as sports coaches or managers or supervisors and understand the business. So it was a real good piece of ethos building, strategy, and everything else, to be honest.
The training and the qualifications also came about, I think, through our own frustrations with the industry, because we were interviewing people who were turned up to a practical assessment with level 2s, level 3s, and then you put them in front of a group of 20 to 30 children and they just crumbled, for a better word, to be honest. They just didn't know how to work with children, because you can get these level 2 qualifications by teaching other people, other adults kind of thing. You're teaching your mentors, you're not actually teaching kids. Whereas like Ash and Shannon are good examples. They came to us with actually no qualifications, but you could just see that they were really, really good with kids. They just knew what they were doing. They could relate to them. They could talk to them. They could direct them. So we're struggling to find what qualifications we could actually put on people or put them through, which was actually meaningful. I think everybody in the coaching industry has done a level 1 in football, which in my opinion is a complete waste of time. Like I don't know anybody that hasn't passed that, but you can get a level 1 and then you can go start coaching. But you have no experience of working with kids. You've just done your level 1 in I think it takes 2 weekends now. At the time it was 1 weekend.
I think it's all online now, Rob.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So that was part of when we started. It was our frustration that we're getting people that had so many qualifications, and you kind of know what it's like, Mark, in the industry, that recruitment's so hard, and you get a CV through and you're all excited. Oh, we've got this person who's got all the qualifications ready to start. And you put them to do a session, you're like, we can't leave this person alone with kids. Like, the kids are running riot here. They haven't learned a thing. So, and then you put someone that has no qualifications in front of the same group of kids, and they'll get them controlled, they'll get them understanding, they could teach them some basics of throwing, catching, dribbling, running, whatever it is. But so that's why we started doing it as well, because we're like, we could do these qualifications like so much better, and they will get so much more out of it.
So what you're effectively kind of saying is, you can I talk about, you recruiting on character, you recruiting on people who you think got the right character traits, and then you can train them up to be what you need them to be and give them the skills. And is it just for young people, or can
any age?
Any
To be
age can
honest,
do it, yeah.
We had on one of the apprenticeship programs, we had a 60-year-old that had come back in who needed to re-engage basically and been upskilled, because he was saying when he started, nothing was digital. Everything was handwritten or typewriter. So he's re-engaged again to understand a bit more of the digital side, and our platform's all digital.
What industry was that?
He was in the leadership, who's a leader in a marketing company. So he's very well at his job, but he just needed to be upskilled. So any age as well. So you're 16-year-olds, right away 16 plus, all the way up. So.
And that's again, that's kind of what we did with Get Active. We had staff members come in as a sports coach, a level 2 coach, put them on a level 3 team leadership course, and then they can even do an operations manager. What's that?
Level 5, yeah.
Level 5 courses. So putting that program in place, I think actually was one of the biggest things we did for Get Active, having that pathway for staff and helping us recruit and build our own team. So yeah. But then all the way up, not just, I think apprenticeships and training, especially apprenticeships, is sort of stigma of 16 to 18, 19-year-olds. We've got
for everyone,
we've got loads of different ages.
Yeah.
Doing like leadership courses or like business admin.
Probably got the more mature students than the younger ones. The younger ones are still coming through, because obviously come July when they officially finish, they'll be looking to go into the industry. And it's a good way of getting that experience, the experiential learning whilst on the job. When I finished university, I had all the paperwork in the world. I couldn't get a job just because I didn't have that experience, like the hands-on experience like Rob alluded to earlier. So having the best of both worlds, working, getting paid, and also getting a meaningful qualification that's recognised is, in my opinion, the best way and the best move forward.
Okay. It's a really fascinating journey, and it's probably, it's only halfway through or less than halfway through, because you've probably got loads more to do with story. But I, definitely recommend anyone that's got any staff to speak to you about the government-funded training. Have you got any other questions, Mike?
No, all I was going to say was that, I'm 100% sure that the people listening to this, it's going to absolutely spark some thoughts about the end game for their own ventures and exit strategies and stuff. But no, it's been fascinating and it's been great. So thank you so much, guys. And yeah, and I've also downloaded the YouTube video for the Story Group website. So I was going to throw the audio in for that towards the end of this show as well, so people can hear about Story Group and what you're all about.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Amazing.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks again, guys. Really appreciate it. And that, hopefully it was useful for you guys to actually talk about it. And
this is the first time we've talked about it, really, to be honest. So, yeah, it was really good. First time the three of us have sat down and spoke about it. So, no, it was really good. Thank you.
Meet James. James has been struggling lately to fit in at school, missing more days than he's attending and finding it hard to put on a brave face in the classroom. His teachers are finding it a real challenge to keep him engaged, and his behaviour is now affecting the rest of the class. Those around him do not understand the trauma he has experienced. James hasn't had it easy so far. A challenging upbringing and an unstable home life, they've all contributed to where he finds himself today. Anxious, uncertain, and unable to see a positive future. His school and local authority now have a tough decision to make. What can they do to get James back on the right path? That's where we come in. At Story Group, we believe in a world where every young person has a brighter future. We can help James, his school, and his local authority in 3 ways. Alternative provision. We will take James out of his school for a period of respite to build his self-esteem, confidence, and resilience. Then agree positive outcomes with his school and successfully reintegrate him. Residential care. Should the local authority feel it's appropriate, we can offer James supported living accommodation in one of our residential homes, where he will work closely with staff to gain his independence for the future. And apprenticeships and training. Through our apprenticeships and coaching, we can provide James with opportunities to identify a future career path and then provide him the training he needs to succeed. James isn't alone. There are thousands of young people who need support, and we won't stop until each one of them has access to a loving home, quality care, and a pathway in place to write their own story.
Thank you for tuning in to Playbook for Success. We hope today's episode provided valuable insights for your journey in play, kids' activities, or sports franchising. If you found this episode useful, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your network. Your support helps us deliver quality content. Keep striving for success, and remember, with the right playbook, anything is possible. Thanks for listening. This episode was proudly produced and sponsored by Making Digital Real.